I don't know quite how to say it. Out there, right now it's behind a Christmas backdrop for you to take selfies with your family, which I will happily photobomb if I see you out there doing that. But behind the backdrop is two pictures. One is of the facade of the building that we have been hoping to build. And the other is the floor plan of that building. And this dream to build this building was birthed in 2000, but it began to come to fruition in the fall of 2019. Bill Reith, and I don't know if Burt Banks is here. Bill Reith and Burt Banks, is he here? Good. Hey, Burt. We went on an elders retreat in the fall of 2019, and Bill Reith and Burt Banks said, we'd like to present to the rest of the elders what we believe is the 10-year plan for Grace. And we're like, oh, that's presumptuous of you. But they were the elder statesmen, so they just did it anyways because Bill does what he wants. Right, Ginger? Yes. And the main focal point of that was it's time for us to build a building. And so we started this campaign, Grace is Going Home, because it's time for us to go home and have a permanent footprint in this community that we love so much. And so we started a campaign. And Jim's going to give you the details of those campaigns. And then it got more expensive like things do, and we needed to do more. And what I want to share with you this morning is this is actually not my decision. I was informed of this decision by trusted people in a circle, in committees, who looked at the data and looked at the information and said, this is the best way forward. And then the elders unanimously and enthusiastically said, yes, this is the best way forward. We still have money to raise. We still don't have all the funds we need to finish the building, but the decision that has been made is we got enough to start it, baby. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And between the two pictures in the lobby is a plaque of a verse in Ephesians that says, to him who is able to do immeasurably more than we could ask or imagine. And when we launched it, the elders looked at each other and we said, this is going to have to be true for this to get done. And we are getting it done. God has done immeasurably more than we could ask or imagine, and we believe that he will continue to do so. So at the end of this last week, I reached out to our architect, and I said, fire it up, man. Get us the proposal. Get us the contract. Start putting us in touch with who we need to get permitted. And so we're going to start getting permitted as soon as we possibly can. We all know that the weeks surrounding Christmas are the best, most efficient times to do business. But we're starting the process, and we're moving forward. And here's our hope. Here's our hope. We hope and believe that in faith, we will be celebrating Christmas in our new building by the end of 27. Christmas 27 is the goal, to be celebrating Christmas. We've got to go, We've got to go through a permit process before we can start the building process, but we are going to be on top of it, and from today forward, we are full systems go. Yeah? Good. Jim.
I'm getting up here. Woo, that's bright.
It's terrible.
It is. So, as Nate said, I'd like to talk with you about the timeline. And as Nate also said, that started in 2019. But I'd like to take you back a couple of years before that, in 2017, because I'd like to put this story that I'm about to tell, this journey that I'm about to lead you down, in the proper context. In 2017, folks, this church was in a bad way. It was in significant debt. It was defunct, and it was pastorless. And the only way I can explain what happened in 2017 is to tell you that from the very get-go, God has had his hand on this church the whole way through. And probably at no greater time than in 2017, because even given the circumstances I just described this church was in, we were able to hire Nate Rector to be our pastor. And in 2018, by the end of 2018, this church that was so deep in debt was solvent. We were even cash flowing a little bit. So in 2019, as crazy as it sounds, as brazen as it sounds, we started talking about, do we really want to be a tenant to a landlord that could raise our rents or bump us out of our space because maybe there's a better tenant? I mean, who could be a better tenant than us, right? But they're out there, I promise you. So we made that decision. We do want to be out of this space and into our own space. So what did we do? After being in debt just a few years ago, we decided we want to have a capital campaign. A capital campaign for $1.5 million. Does sound crazy, doesn't it? Do I need to remind you of what was going on in 2020? We were in the midst of COVID. People were wearing face masks. We didn't even meet for months, and yet we're launching a capital campaign. And by the end of that campaign in 2022, we hadn't raised $1.5 million. We raised $1.62 million. I'm telling you, that floors me when I think about it. But now, I mean, we've been shopping for land. It's kind of like window shopping because we didn't have the money. But we'd had a team of commercial guys that had been shopping for the right land. And now it's time to buy it. So we really kind of put on the jets to get out there and find the right property. I don't know if you know this, but it isn't easy to buy land in Raleigh, especially when you have specific criteria, and we had a lot of that. We wanted to build about 15,000 square foot building, and we knew that took about 4 acres. We knew that we wanted to, well, it had to be zoned such that it allowed for a church building. We knew we needed a location that was good for this congregation demographically. We wanted land that was visible and had a good topo, but it just wasn't being found. But there was this guy in our church that kept riding up and down Litchford Road, and he kept seeing the sign advertising 4.02 acres. And that guy just happened to be Wes Ward. And that guy just happened to be on our board. And that guy took that information to our board, and that board handed it off to our real estate guys. And lo and behold, this property checked every single box that we had. All the criteria. Folks, that he found that land, that it was the perfect land. That's God. That's all that is. So in September 2022, we bought that property for $1.55 million. So now we got the land. So our focus then turns to the building. We had gotten some numbers from a builder we had talked with back in 2019 who gave us a metric of about $2,200 a square foot. We knew we wanted to build about 15,000 square feet. Simple math, $3 million. He had told us that we could do the site work for $750,000. So $375,000 for the project. We knew that we could borrow $1,750,000 because Bobby Ross has been handling our banking affairs forever and ever, amen. No, that's his donation. So you take that $1,750,000 from the $3,750,000 and you got $2 million. So what did we do? In 2023, we launched another capital campaign. And by the spring of 2025, we had raised $1.9 million. And we had pledges for $1.1 million, so $3 million. These aren't just pledges like I might make, I hope I can give, I intend to give. These are pledges that guys said, I will give you the money today, I'll give you the money tomorrow, I'll give you the money at any time in the future. You just tell me when. The money's in the bank. So we know we have $3 million. So we started looking at our numbers that originated back in 2019 and knew that they weren't any good anymore. I mean, we've been through COVID. We had significant inflation. We've had significant escalation in construction line items like steel, concrete, labor. So we were able to find a contractor developer that was willing to work with us free, who spent an enormous amount of time. Nate mentioned how long, or maybe Brad, how long it took. But it took a long time because he did a lot of work. He didn't just give us metrics. He went out into the market and got numbers from subcontractors. So they are numbers that we can sink our teeth in and have confidence in. And so now we have numbers that that are not $3 million for the building, but $3.9 million. And the site work isn't $750,000. That number was always suspect. It's now $2 million. And we also know that we're going to need to put away some money for some of the things that Nate mentioned, our architectural engineering, permits, plans, so forth. And so that's about $400,000. And added all that together with our land that we bought for $1,550,000, project cost $7,850,000, right? Sounds a little daunting, right? But let's take another look. Building at $3.9 million, site work at $2 million, plan, specs, and so forth, $400,000, and the land at $1,550,000. All totaled $7,850,000. So, how do we crack this nut? Again, sounds a little daunting, but you start out with that $7,850,000 and immediately deduct the $1,550,000. That's the land that we've already bought. We've raised, let's mention the loan Bobby's going to make out of pocket. $1,750,000 plus $1.9 million that we have sitting in the bank, and another $1.1 million of pledges that are as good as money in the bank. So you total those, that's $4,750,000 deducted from $6.3 million. That means that we're only $1,550,000 from having all the funds we need to do this project. So if that number sounds daunting to you, let's just look at the fact that we raised $1.5 million in COVID, during COVID. And we raised $3 million shortly thereafter. And by the way, if you don't mind me admitting it this morning, because I don't mind admitting it this morning, I got a phone call that we have another $250,000 donation today. So It's coming, and it's because your generous hearts. I've said along the way, this is about God. God has worked on generous hearts from the very beginning and all the way through this process that I've rambled on about. We're confident that he is going to continue to work in the same way, and that now is the time for this exciting moment. And I'm so glad that we're able to announce it today. So I want to thank Emil La Savita. I love that name, La Savita. So I want to invite Emil to come up. Emil was good enough to prepare this PowerPoint presentation for me, and I hope it was helpful for you. It was for me. And he has some ideas, as Brad said, about some stuff. So I'll leave it to you, Emil.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm on. So why am I here? I'm going to get to that in a second. First, I want to ask a question to everybody in the room. If you were like me 5 years ago in 2020, and when Nate said we needed to raise $1.5 million, raise your hand if you thought he was crazy. I did. I said, we're never going to get 1.5. But we did. We got 1.6. Further, raise your hand if you knew before this moment that we only had 1.5 million more to go on a 7.85 million build, because I didn't know that. And so I had a conversation with Nate one day. We started getting into it. I started to ask him a million questions, and I got a calculator out, and I realized after 90 minutes on the phone with Nate that we're over 80% of the way home on a 7.85 million building build. It was really impressive. So if I told you today that we're 80% of the way there, many folks didn't know that. So that's what we're here to share today. And I told Nate I'd put together some numbers for him so that we can share some other things, which we'll do. And Nate very graciously told me, don't screw this up, pal. This is the most important presentation you'll ever make. So thank you for that. Okay. So, guys, now is the time. We're getting really close. We don't have that much further to go to get this over the line. If you're like me and many others, we're really anxious to get this going. We've been hearing about it for 5 or 6 years. We've heard different numbers, and we've not been sure where we are. And I'm telling you, we're close now, so let's get excited about it. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about some giving pathways. I just want to remind the group, those of you who are here today in the room, there's some really interesting giving pathways that are available to us that bring tax advantage, that enable us to gift money to the church. So really quick primer on that. If you are one of the more seasoned partners at Grace and you're already 70.5 years old, so if you're 70 and a half, you can gift money to Grace through what they call a qualified charitable distribution. That enables you to gift it to the church without any tax ramifications at all on that money. Some people don't know about that. I just want to remind people, because we all think about another term called a required minimum distribution, also for very seasoned members at age 73. If you are in the position where you have holdings in a 401k or a SEP plan that you've self-funded, the government is going to, if in certain situations, make you take out a minimum amount of money out of those qualified plans every year. And so there's a huge tax implication because you have to pay taxes. Well, if you gift money to a charitable organization like Grace, you can gift money through a donor advised fund or another way that you wouldn't pay any tax on that money. So if you're in that subset of folks, please think about that. Another thing I want to mention was donor advised funds. A donor advised fund is a way for any of us at any age to establish a program. It can be through any financial institution, but it could be Schwab, it could be Fidelity, it could be Vanguard. You can set up a donor advised fund that would enable you to put money into that fund, and then any money that's donated or gifted to the church is gifted tax-free. So there's no tax implication. It's a wonderful way to increase your gift to our church, but at the same time, not have to pay any taxes on those funds. And a lot of folks use appreciated assets like stock, but it could be other types of assets. But you can donate appreciated stock. So if you paid $10 for one share of stock 5 years ago, and it's now worth $100, if you sell that share on the open market, that's a $90 gain that you have to pay taxes on. And the government's going to take a nice chunk of that away. But if you do it through a donor advised fund and you gift that money to the church, it gives you a way to send that money directly. The church gets the whole $100. You don't have to pay any tax to the government. Yeah, and you get a tax deduction when you donate it, and you also don't pay any taxes at the time that it's gifted. So there are other vehicles out there called charitable trust. Won't go into all the details of that, but I just wanted to remind people there's lots of really innovative ways that you can reduce taxes, reduce estate taxes, and really amplify your gifts to the church. Next slide, please. So we're going to come up with today, we call the Move Dirt Now program. We want to move some dirt. We want to get the tractors rolling, okay? So another way that we can do that is through something called a corporate matching gift program. Some of you may work for large organizations. Some large organizations, not all, but some, will do a matching gift. So if you give $1,000 to an entity like Grace, they'll match that gift and double it, and you've now doubled your impact on your giving, which is a really powerful vehicle. But today, I'm here to announce an idea that we came up with that will be even more powerful than the corporate matching gift program. So what I want to talk about today is the Grace Raleigh matching gift program. Here's what we've been able to do. A very generous group of donors from within our church have agreed to fund a program over the next 3 months. So here's how it's going to work. Any money that's donated to Grace Raleigh between now and the end of the year, so you have until December 31st to gift money to Grace, this group of donors is going to triple the money that you give. So think about the power of it. If you give $1,000, it's like giving $3,000. If you give $5,000, it's like giving $15,000. And this is already funded from a group of generous donors that we have right here in church. You may say, well, that's going to be hard to do between now and the end of the year. Give me a little bit more time. Okay, we're going to give you some more time. So what we're going to do is between January 1st and February 28th, so 2 more months after that into the new year, the same group is going to double the amount of your gift through February 28th. So if you give $5,000, it's like giving $10,000. We've funded this program up to the first $90,000 of donations that come in. So for the first $90,000 that come in between now and December 31st, those gifts are going to be tripled. And for the next $90,000 that comes in between January 1st and February 28th, those dollars are going to be doubled. Can I get an amen? All right, so if you've been sitting on the sidelines and if you've been thinking about this and praying about it and going, you know, I really don't know how much we can give right now. I really don't know if it's real. How close are you? I want to be sure that we're going to really move the tractors and move some dirt to do this. I'm telling you, now's the time to do it because your gifts in the next 3 months are going to be amplified to a tremendous advantage for the church. Next slide, please. Okay, some of you may be in the season of life where you say, you know what, I really want to give, but right now I just don't have the cash to do it. You may have tons of kids in school. You may have other financial considerations that you need to care for. And I'm here to tell you that's okay. But what you can do instead is gift a monthly amount to the building campaign because we're going to be building over the next 2 years. And for any money that you gift towards the campaign can go to some really important things that we're going to need once the building's built, like outfitting our children's rooms, or providing auditorium chairs, or upgrading our working kitchen, or overhauling the AV equipment that we're going to sorely need once we move to that new building. So I would really encourage you, if you can spare as little as $50 a month to any amount that you're able to give per month, do it now. We really need those dollars in the next couple of years. Further, if we get more than the $1.55 million we still need to build this church, that would enable us to take a smaller loan, so we wouldn't need to take out a loan for $1.75 million. Think about the power if we could take that loan down to 1.5 or even $1 million. What that does will lower our operating costs on an ongoing basis and really help us breathe a lot easier to be able to manage costs once we get to the new building.
Think about how much money we could save Bobby.
Yeah, it would save Bobby a ton of money by doing that. So super encourage monthly giving if you're not able to participate in the matching gifts program that we just announced. All right, guys, we can have nice things. We're close to getting this building, okay? If you think that we can't and you're tired of being next to a fishbowl or walking in hallways this narrow or being in the kitchen making coffee, tripping over 7 different people, what if we were able to have a lobby that might look something like this when you enter our church, or to have a coffee station that might look something like this when we're done a couple years from now? What if we were able to have fully outfitted children's space where we can actually do the teaching and learning that we want to do on a Sunday by Sunday basis and have the adequate space that we need for the children? What if we have an outdoor play space that would encourage our kids and help our families when they want to participate in church functions? What if we had conference facilities, conference rooms, if you wanted to have a small group meeting or other important church functional meetings? We actually have conference room space to be able to do that. What if we had a full kitchen, a working kitchen that enables us to prepare, yeah. We can actually prepare meals, and we can have enough space so that we're not tripping over each other. And, if any of you haven't been over to see the coffee space, where the guy's making coffee in the morning, it's kind of like the Three Stooges. It's that tight. It'd be great to be able to have that facility. And what if we were able to build out a wonderful worship sanctuary? We've got all the space we need on stage. Most importantly, we might even be able to put the keyboard player up front in the light. Listen, that right there makes the whole new building worth it. Next slide. So guys, I want to just take a moment to say the time is now. If you've been sitting on the sidelines, if you've been thinking about this, you've been praying about this, people are going to amplify your giving. We want to get this done. Let's get it done right now. We have 3 months. Wouldn't it be great if 3 months from now we had enough cash in hand to just say, go full bore, let's get this done? And I would say, just let's go. Thank you.
That's some good stuff, right? I'm sure nobody has any questions or anything, right? So we are going to open it up for questions and answers. I would ask that you raise your hand, or if you want to come down and fill the aisle, but they have this microphone for you to use, and you can do it where everybody can hear you, and then whoever, Jim, Emil, Nate, any others in the room, anybody that can answer, do it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll facilitate that. And we're recording this so that people who are not able to be here today can watch it and be as informed as you are. So I'll facilitate the questions, and as you ask them, I'm going to repeat them back to you, A, to make sure I understand, B, to make sure we get the right person to answer it, and then C, to make sure that the people online know what's been asked. So does anybody have any questions? Mr. Torrance. Yes, as I understand the question, does the 7.8 include the additions of outfitting a sanctuary and the kitchen and things like that? That's the question? Jim?
Well, the answer would be no. It's really about the space. That's what we're trying to get out of the ground, get the space out of the ground. Some of the things that Emil mentioned, if we have enough money, we'll maximize that right in that space that we build. But we're going to need funds to do all of what Emil pointed out.
And here's my thinking about that, just to be very candid with you. If you have children in school, you likely cannot give in such a, you might be able to, but what's probably likely is over the next 3 months between now and the end of February, you don't have the capacity to give in such a way that's going to move the needle on the 1.5, which I would also say, just so we're clear, with the $250, I woke up this morning thinking that we had a gap of 1.5 to close. Then I got word from Jim that we had a $250 gift come in, $250,000 gift. $250 would be great too. Brad DeVoe, you good for that? $250? Great. $250,000 comes in, and then I think they said in 2027 they're good for it again. So now it's $1 million. You understand? Then we have 90 pledged over the next month. Then we have 90 after that. So now it's 800. And your money's going to be doubled. So this is really wonderful. I woke up thinking that the gap was $1.5 million, and now we're in the meeting and it's 8. Okay? That's God's moving. But here's what I would say to the young families, and to your question, Mr. Torrance, is over the next 3 months, we need high capacity gifts to cross that finish line and be done with it. But over the next 2 years, as we construct, we need faithful gifts for the exact thing that you asked about, Ron, and that can come from our young families, because we might not be able to move the needle in the next 3 months, but we can provide over the next 2 years for what we think God wants to do in the church. Does that make sense? What else? Yes, sir. Okay, good. Thank you. The question is, if we're giving and we're designating our giving, because right now when you give online, you can designate building fund or operational fund. And his question was, the portion that we are allocating towards operational, does that qualify for the triple or the double? And Emil, correct me if I'm wrong, but it does. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke. If the portion that's allocated to building comes in for building, does that qualify? And yes, anything that's given to the building between now and the end of the year is tripled, and anything that comes in for the building between the beginning of the year and the end of February, doubled. So yes. Yeah, all capital campaign. Andrea. She asked if you're already giving, do you have to give over and above to qualify for the triple or the double? No. No. Anything that comes in up to 90,000 in those 2 periods of time, triple, double. Yeah? Yeah. Joe? Are we still doing a design build, and is there a contingency built into the budget? I don't know.
So we haven't zoned in on the builder yet. We are just now initiating. We're just now initiating architectural and engineering drawings. So those decisions will be made when we start working with the contractor and negotiating the contract. So there's not a great answer for you, but that's what I got now. We're going to put it out for bids with multiple GCs. Yes.
Is there contingency? Yes, always is the answer. Okay. Well, I'm saying that for the people online. I don't care about you guys. Anybody else? And here's what I'll also say. It might be difficult in a forum like this to ask a question. So Scott Hurst and Bobby Ross and Jim Adams and Brad Gwynn have all been a part of the process for the whole time, as has Asa Rogerson hiding out back there acting like he has nothing to do with this. So any of them, ask your questions. If you don't feel comfortable in this forum, if you have a question for me, ask me. I'll hang around for a little bit. But you're welcome to do that. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
On the Grace matching program, if in theory we got a lot of extra money in December for the triple match, but then we didn't get as much in January, February, is the extra in December going to roll into the double match in January, February?
It's a great question. I don't know. Are you a part of the match? You can decide. Yeah, Emil, you can answer this. I just want to repeat it back so that people watching understand. What Greg asked is if we bring in a lot in the month of December and then maybe not as much from January to February, does the gift roll over? Yeah? Yeah, the matching part.
So the short answer is that was not our intention, but keep giving. So our intention is up to $90,000. So we've got it fully funded up to the first $90,000 that comes in. We're going to triple that. If we get more than $90,000, amen, that money is going to stay in the fund. The money that comes in between January 1st and February 28th will then be doubled. And I don't know, I would have to just check. I don't know how easy it is for us to track exactly how we're doing, just to let folks know. But I would say, again, if you've been on the sideline and you have been praying about this and thinking about this, now's the time to give. If we over exceed those matches, that's just God's grace. So that's an amen, but our intention wasn't to keep matching it.
Very good. Anything else? Yeah. Douglas? This better be good. It does make sense. The Houndshells have chosen to leave as I'm standing directly in front of them. Thank you for your time, Angie and Rob. Get us that triple, Houndshells. Doug, that's a great question and a good clarifying one, and something that I meant to include up front. Earlier in the year, I had sent out a communication that because of rising prices, we might have to pare down the building and not build outdoor space, not build the kitchen, not have some of the spaces that we wanted to, which Karen Lotta, in particular, was all in favor of. She loved that. And what we found, and I appreciate the question so I can clarify, is that there was absolutely zero appetite amongst anybody interested in the building to pare down the building. Let's build the one that we want and let's get it done now is the sentiment. So that's what's changed, is we backed off of that, realizing that no one had an appetite to do that. And we're going to build the one, well, you can't see it because of the Christmas backdrop. Come next door, I'll show you that. I'll hold up the plan for you in the office. So that remains the intent. Does that clarify that for you, Doug, or is there still some confusion there? Good? Okay. Thomas?
The
$7.85 million number that Jim shared does include building the kitchen. So the kitchen gets built as part of that $7.85 million. The things that aren't included, to one of the questions that was asked earlier, is some of the other furnishings, like new chairs in the auditorium or AV equipment or whatever. But the kitchen gets built as part of the $7.85 million, I believe.
I would just qualify that as the building space gets built. We have not priced out, what they call in the industry FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. This is construction numbers.
Nor have we priced out my office furniture. So there's also looking for some generous donors for that. I prefer mahogany and judges panels. Can please. Does anyone besides Alan have a question? Anyone at all? Yes, Mr. Morgan. Lane actually, does my portrait in the lobby, is that included? Lane has actually told me off books that she plans to fund that herself. So that's going to be just fine. Where are we, David? Oh, okay, Garrett. Mr. Ross, can you help me with this one? He's going to give you a better answer. The question is, was a loan always on the table, and do we have a loose understanding of what the terms of that could potentially be? To the first part of the question, yes. A loan was always part of the plan, and the original plan was to borrow 1.75. And we got some financial people in a room, including Mr. Ross, to project that for us and kind of determine what we felt like we could responsibly handle. Because one of the things that's been really important the whole time is that we don't want to be, quote unquote, house poor. We don't want to get in and bite off more than we can chew. So we want to be spending roughly the same that we are now for what we're borrowing. So he can speak to the loan terms and things.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Well, I would say that it was never intended initially that there would always be a loan. The ideal scenario that there would be no loan, that we would raise everything. But if we needed to borrow money, we would do it in context with what our operational budget would allow and thoughts about what projected growth will be, because ultimately a loan's going to be paid back with the church's cash flow, what we all contribute to the operating budget. And so as we were running numbers and making assumptions on interest rates, which could vary, of course, between now and whenever this would need to be put in place, if necessary, that's the figure we came up with. About $1,750,000 would be comfortable with where the church's budget is now and what we would project it to be. But again, ideally, we reduce the amount of the loan or ultimately get it to nothing. Is that satisfactory? Okay.
What's the term?
It'll be up to a 25-year amortization, payments based on up to a 25-year amortization. During the construction period, it will be an interest-only period when we're building out, because keep in mind, we're going to be continuing to pay rent here for some period of time whenever we move out, depending upon the timing of that. But once everything's settled, we'll be setting up payments based on probably up to a 25-year. At 3%. Jim's funding.
Yeah, Jim's going to do the 3% interest. Douglas. Oh, that's a good question. Greg, do you know that? Okay. The question was, what are we currently paying in rent? And believe it or not, we get this luxurious space for the low price of $11,500 monthly. I thought it was a little bit more than that. Scott, what do you remember? 11,500. Okay, good. Our new finance director was not wrong. Way to go, Greg. $135,500 for the year with some TICAM, common area maintenance, things like that. Yes, sir. Our 3-year trend in what is our 3-year trend in attendance and monthly or annual giving? I could not, off the top of my head, Tom, give you accurate annual attendance numbers. I do know that we increase month. We outperform each month the previous month from the previous year, or that month from the previous year. So we continue to grow incrementally. We're growing mostly in young families, and and every month after COVID, we've outperformed, like I said, that month the previous year. So we're growing slowly but surely, which has been our pattern because we don't do big growth campaigns. For giving, I would say that, and those of you who know, correct me if I'm wrong, help me out here. Harris, you might know the best. Our giving in 2023 and 2024 were pretty stagnant, close to $750. Our giving this year has gone up to the operational, I'm not factoring in the building campaign. We're outperforming by, is it 19%? Greg, do you remember? It's 18 to 20%. So this year our giving has gone up, and I'm very hopeful that when we cross the finish line and we're no longer in kind of a campaign mode, that we'll see some of that turn into operational and then begin to grow there as well. Can we, how much growth needs to happen in our operational giving to be able to survive in the new building? I don't know the answer to that question. Do you, Jim?
So in our projections, we accounted for a portion of the rent that we're paying currently and won't be paying then to be allocated to the debt. But there's a portion besides that's part of that $135,500 in TICAM that would be then able to be allocated to our higher expected operating expenses. That make sense? So a portion to the debt? So the interest payments, the debt service is part of the biggest part of that $135,500 piece. But there's a significant portion of that we're looking to then be able to put to the higher operating cost.
Tom?
Just in regard to Tom's question, the bottom line is that the 1.75 million loan that we believe we can afford is essentially set according to at our current what we could currently afford. So the presumption that we can afford a $1.75 million mortgage going forward is based upon that what our current operating expenses are. And our current giving is. So it isn't like we're counting on that, we have to be getting more money to be able to afford to be there. So the short answer to your question is that, yes, we believe we can survive in the new building with a $1.75 million mortgage at our current operating levels and the projection going forward.
Yeah, that's mostly true, but the projections were made with the anticipation of a 3% growth year over year. So in this year, we've covered that. So it's not necessarily a one-for-one from where we were in 2022, but it's a projection of a 3% budgetary growth year over year, which we've achieved this year and we hope will continue to accomplish moving forward. Please.
So one other thing that I meant to mention when I was on stage was that this property that we found on Litchford Road and we have bought, on the north side of that property is a brand new subdivision. And across Litchford Road is Northridge Country Club, which is where waiting for waiting to become partners in Grace Raleigh. So I would anticipate our revenue to go up substantially to cover a lot of things that maybe if we've missed anything.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I think that when we get into the building, it's inevitable that we will grow. And I think it's inevitable that our budget will grow. I would be very surprised if it didn't. But what I do want you to know is we have not planned in faith for that to happen. We want to make sure that we can be responsible people. And we've been, in my view, I'll just tell you personally, disappointingly conservative in our projections. I've wanted us to be more aggressive. But I'm not in the rooms where they're deciding these things because that's not my expertise, and I shouldn't be. And so when they tell me what they think, I go, okay, great. So it's been very conservative the whole way. Yes? 2 homes are currently on the property. Have they been demoed? There are 3 homes on the property. They have not been demoed, but we have someone who is, see you later, DJ. We have someone who is renting those from us with the intent of removing the homes and putting them somewhere else to house retired veterans. So, and I believe we're still moving forward with that plan. We've renegotiated a lease, and that we expect that to start happening in the first quarter of this year. Yeah, the lease was through the end of this year. They needed to have the homes off the property. We've granted a 3-month extension, so we're hopeful that we'll see those homes begin to move soon. Yes, Cam. Yeah, I have a wild guess, but I'm not going to say it in front of everybody. Come on, man. The question is, do we have an estimate as to what it's going to take to outfit the church so that we're ready to go? There's obviously a minimalistic view and then you know, an extravagant view. And the answer, Cam, is no, we have not priced that out and looked into that as of yet. So it would be irresponsible of me to just throw out a number in front of everyone and let everyone for the next 2 years just go, well, Nate said on that day it was going to be $80,000, and now it's $250,000, and what a liar he is. So we're not going to do that. But I would say, what's the minimal price? $0. We just take these chairs over there, and we sit in the stains, and we worship in a new room, you know? But we will have that. This is more about it not outfitting the church, but getting it out of the dirt and getting it built and getting it occupied. Yeah. Liz. Is getting funds for the furnishings in the church contingent upon getting a loan? Is that part of the loan? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. If we raise money, reach our goal to where we can borrow what we feel comfortable borrowing, will the additional money start to go towards furnishings? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Great question. If we've pledged, and we've been doing it for 2 years, but we want to continue to give, do we need to re-pledge so that the church kind of knows what to expect? No, we're not really operating on pledges anymore. Whatever comes in, and when we have it, we have it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question, and that has been brought up. So the question is, can we put a sign on the property that says "Future Home of Grace Raleigh" and start to let the surrounding neighborhoods and neighbors know that this is where we're going to be? And that's been brought up, and I've been almost the singular holdback on doing that because I didn't want us to put a sign up and it sit there for 4 years and us be embarrassed about putting a sign up. But now that we're going, yeah. And when we get close, we're going to put something in the mailboxes of the neighborhood that surrounds us and just says, listen, if you've moved to this neighborhood, you might be new to the area. If you have a church, wonderful. If you don't, we're your neighbors. So yeah, we're gonna try to take advantage of where our location is. Yes. Guys, I have great news for you. One of our newest partners is going to buy all the chairs for the auditorium. Hey! It's a great question. It's a great question. Right now we're giving money, and we want to get the building out of the ground. But as we look to furnish, and there's the different options over the next couple of years, can we allocate to particular things? If our passion is for the children's space, can we give particularly to that? If our passion is for the auditorium, can we give particularly to that? Here's what I would say. I would say two things in this meeting right now, okay? And I'm not criticizing anyone's questions or curiosity about anything. But let us not lose the forest for the trees. We have 2 years to outfit this thing. We'll be fine. Let's spend the next 3 months getting it out of the ground. That's the point, all right? So we've got a lot of time to answer these questions. What we need to figure out now is, do we want to, his last slide was, it's close, it's time, let's go. Let's go. We'll figure this stuff out, and I know that sounds like irresponsible leadership. It's not. We have a lot of time. We will get it figured out. So to directly answer your question, there has been some movement and some conversations that I've been in to allow people to designate for particular areas of the church. I am personally hesitant to do that because we don't do that at Grace. We don't designate gifts. We ask to give to the general fund, we ask to give to the capital fund, and then trust the leadership that we have in place to allocate that to the most important spaces. That being said, I'm not going to not take your designated fund. We're just not going to preach it and practice it. Yeah? Okay. All right. There's a lot of people who want to go, so this better be good, Phil. Jim. Oh, sorry. I'm not going to remember both parts, Phil. That's a great question. So, Jim, I'm going to let you answer the first one that I've already forgotten. But it's prices have changed over years. Or how confident are we that we're close enough to the finish line that the numbers we're dealing with are accurate numbers? So I'll let you answer that in a second. The second one is, are we going to have regular communication? Yes, we hope to be as communicative as possible. And I know it doesn't seem like that, but we entered into this year trying to figure out these numbers so we could have this meeting. It just took us this long to get to them. But to the first question.
So, can't predict where inflation is going to go, but we are very close to, once we have our plans in hand, Bill, we will start we're going to get this thing out for bids and get prices from contractors. So where prices go beyond that is their problem.
Anybody else? Let me pray. If you got any more questions, come talk to us after. Father, thank you so much for what you've done here, for your faithfulness. We pray to you, who is able to do immeasurably more than we could ask or imagine, and we can't fathom that this is happening for our church. We thank you for loving us and for looking after us. We thank you for every gift that has been given to the end of building this thing, and we hope that throughout the process we honor you and it honors you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, go to lunch.